printed it a little bigger this time.
This is good.
Cute.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I hope
like
that's
otherwise.
it's funny. I was doing it on my screen and I was just like, my eyes.
Oh, me too. And I called to ask Sarah, how come I couldn't tell what the
Oh,
whole
this is
year to
great.
date was. It's like it was all.
All right, it is 7:02. I'm gonna call the the Feb, the, hold on, a second.
February 13th.
February 13th. February 13th, Newcastle Select Board meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
All right, moving on to 4.1, the minutes from January 30th. Do I have a motion to accept?
Yep. Me.
Moved by Karen. Do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. Any discussion?
Okay.
All right, see no discussion. All those in favor? All right, passes 4 with 1 absent. Moving on to item number 5, public comments not on the agenda. Board requests that comments are limited to 5 minutes per subject. Do we have any public comments not on the agenda? Going once, going twice. Okay, do you want to, you can keep them brief. I'll let you do 2.
We'll start with the comprehensive plan. How are we doing with that?
What's your name, sir?
My name is Merle Parise.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just for the.
sorry. Yeah, okay. Just want to know how we're doing with that, and are we going to be able to have some public hearings on the changes to that? Are you planning that coming up in the near future? That's the first question.
We are planning on having some public hearings. They haven't been scheduled yet, but we will.
Yeah, and how is it? Is the plan been accepted by the state?
It's still pending.
Still pending?
review. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. The other one is I had a discussion in the town office with the code enforcement officer and the town lawyer and the planning officer. Who else? Mel was there, myself, and you were outside in the other room too, concerning the ordinance on commercial timber harvesting.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if there's any movement in changing that upcoming this spring, having a vote on it and changing the ordinance and eliminating that. Now, Ben Fry said something interesting when he walked into the room after the fact. He said that, well, maybe tree growth is not included in that ordinance. That's not so, but I wouldn't go against that if that's the direction you wanted to go. I think would be a fairly interesting direction to head, but I think we should just drop the whole thing as far as and go with state standards.
Do you want me to speak to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd urge you to come on in and talk to Isabel, because I believe the planning board has been talking about what to potentially put as an amendment, but I'm not sure where that has landed at this time.
Mhm.
Yeah, but come on into town office. She's there Wednesdays and Thursdays
Yeah.
for now,
Okay.
till the 24th.
Yeah.
And yeah, she'll have an update.
Yeah, all right.
And the planning board is who makes recommendations to the select board as to, so it's, so when we hear from them. and-
Will that have to have we'll have to vote on that issue to change that though. It'll have to be, would that be, when's the town meeting, June?
June. Right.
and that could either
It
be-
would either be at the town meeting in June or a special town meeting.
Or it could be,
Probably wait,
it could be on the ballot. too.
Yep.
So
Be
it
allowed
just
to
depends on what
have it as
seems
a
to be
regular-
the most.
save us quite a bit of money if we just had it to do. That's all right now, and then we're gonna discuss another topic tonight that I'll be commenting on. That's on the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Joel.
Yeah.
Can I add comment here from the
Yep.
board? So I've talked to some residents that's going over, you know, recent months, but about the lock store at the town office.
Mhm.
So I want to see where we are with that, see if we can unlock it or get rid of not unlock it. We don't want the town office to be open, but the buzzer is really the
Yeah.
question. So.
Yeah.
So, passing that on to the town manager and administration staff that I think the town would like to see the buzzer go.
If you all direct me to do that, we'll just.
Should we not do- Yeah, I
Yeah.
I think it's time.
Yeah.
Like the COVID protocols are over, I
The
think,
COVID
for that.
code, Yeah.
So directed.
Okay.
Thanks. That's it.
And one other thing I did notice as I drove home today, is I saw the road posting signs. up,
Yes,
So the road being posted.
Yeah.
Isn't this early? It's early this year, isn't it?
it is. And
Yeah.
we're, seeing some thawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of towns have already posted their roads, so I had that in the manager's report tonight.
Oh, you did? I didn't see.
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
Was
it was
Tim?
a later edition.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no.
That's the only reason I brought it up.
So much
I
under-
just noticed it, but it's good because I mentioned it and then you'll mention it.
Yeah.
And then everyone will know. But never mind. I just saw an orange sign. That's all I saw. Yeah. All right. Moving on to 7.1, renewal of joint marine law enforcement services agreement. Get that in our packet. The same as previous years. Do I have a motion to accept the contract?
Sure.
Moved by Karen. Do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. Any discussion?
Just
Or questions?
refresh my memories. Is this the one that Damascotta takes care of financially, and then we take care of the harbor master?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought I remembered.
The Shellfish Committee and the Marine Law Enforcement Services for Shellfish Wardens managed by Damascotta. And then we manage the Harbor Committee and the Harbor Master.
And then we go back and forth on mooring permits, right? Or
Newcastle handles moorings, but
Darren Scott did dinghy? No. Is it
No, we
dinghy?
do
He does-
dinghies.
We do dinghies.
Yeah, we do dinghies.
I think it swaps. I think it's like one of these things where it's, you get it for so many years and then.
I don't,
Don't quote me on that one, but I think sometimes we get the dinghies and sometimes we don't get the dinghies.
I didn't know that. To my knowledge, we did the dinghies. Shelley picks out the stickers. we pick a
Yeah.
different color.
Yeah, no, I think it's, but I don't think we always used to do the dinghies.
Huh.
Maybe, I could be wrong. But I think people like it when we do the dinghies. I think we do the dinghies well, so.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
I hear nothing but good things about our handling of the dinghies. So,
Let's move on.
and Dameron Scott has already approved and signed this. So,
Yes.
all right, any further discussion on the Marine Law Enforcement Joint Services Agreement?
It's the same one we had last year.
All those in favor? All right, passes 4 with 1 absent. All right, so moving on to 7.2, issue correction to warrant from January 30th, 2023. Give me a second, everybody. So this is just changing one of our warrant items from that meeting to instead of being taken out of our municipal buildings reserves account, to be taken out of our ARPA expenditures, because we had approved ARPA funding for that. So so now that I've explained it a little bit, do I have a motion to correct item 00337 of the January 30th, 2023 warrant to read $12,586.11, change to the ARPA expenditures account with the remainder charged to municipal building reserves account
Of 8,748.
of $8,748.69.
So moved.
Moved by Tor, do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. Any further discussion on that item?
That,
Alright.
that, that ends up taking up the rest of the money that we had allocated for
So,
town office.
Correct.
work.
Yep.
Yep.
What you all had hoped to budget was 25,000. We got the heat pump invoice before we got the air purification system invoice. So in the interim, we charged the heat pumps to the municipal building reserve because we weren't sure exactly where the air purification system was gonna land, and we wanted to make
Okay.
sure we had money for that, because that was really
Excellent.
Can you just refresh my memory on how the ARPA funding works when
Sure.
we put something to an ARPA account? Do we have to, do we have the money or do we file for it?
We
And it's
already
spent.
have the money. We received 2 different checks, one in 2021 and one in 2022. Each was 50% of the total of, I believe it was 186,000 that was allocated to the town of Newcastle. And we put it into an allocated ARPA expense revenue line. And now whenever we have an expense, it comes directly out of that line. So we're able to print and track and grant report to the federal government what specifically we're expending out of it when it's time. So I did a grant report last year for it. This year's is coming up, and we've spent everything that you all approved other than broadband, which is still pending.
And then there's no other funds remaining.
Right.
So it's just the broadband after we expend this money. And then if we did, for whatever reason, all of a sudden broadband is free and we didn't need the money or whatever, they don't want the money. So, we got so much of a grant, they were like, thanks. We could redesignate that through this process. We have a certain amount of time to do that.
Right. I
Correct.
believe the only catch there would be if you wanted it to go to a different project that wasn't approved by the legislative body as was voted on in the town warrant. We would then need to have it voted on to reallocate that to a different
Okay.
subject,
Yep.
I believe.
Okay,
That's the only thing.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, we went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but it was a good tangent. So all those in favor of issuing the correction as stated? All right, passes 4 with 1 absent. All right, Moving on to 7.3 appointments to ad hoc historic preservation committee. Turn this over to Laura and Sarah.
How do you wanna do that?
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and
Sure.
start with the appointments?
Why don't I just make a motion?
Okay,
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm gonna move that we appoint the following people to the
Mhm.
ad hoc preservation committee. Ben Fry. Catherine Burke. Bonnie Stone. Karen Paz. Myself. We're going down.
That's one person from each of the 3 historic districts and 2 more.
Correct. Yeah. Do you wanna, if we can move and get a second on that, maybe we can discuss the qualifications, I think.
Yep.
I can, speak to that.
do I have a motion to appoint Ben Fry, Catherine Burke, Bonnie Stone, Karen Paz, and Tor Denning to the ad hoc historic preservation committee? I'll move it.
Okay.
Tom will second it. You don't want to move and second.
No, I don't know.
All right.
Feels like a conflict.
So further discussion.
So yeah, I think this is a solid group. So, I think just to talk about representation here. Ben Fry is the chair of the planning board.
Yep.
So I think it's a good idea to have somebody from the planning board to be part of the process. Bonnie Stone, who has a past history as chair of the planning board. And as well, long past history with the design review committee from years
Mhm.
ago. And then Catherine Burke is representative. Oh, I should say Bonnie is a representative for the downtown special district, which is the Glidden Street, Glidden Street, Cross Street District.
Who's that?
Bonnie
Bonnie.
Stone.
Yeah.
So, Catherine Burke is, she's served for 3 years on the design review committee. So she's a resident of the Sheepscott Village. She's quite knowledgeable about historic preservation. And she's done a beautiful job, her and her husband, on renovating their 1780 or so federal house. Karen is representative of the select board, and she's also a resident of the Demerscott Mills district. And then myself as an architectural representative and member of the select board.
Yeah. And the history of this is that when we were working on the code initially, this was a need that was identified in the process of working on the land use ordinance that was approved, that we knew we needed this extra layer, and we didn't have time to do it and wanted to sort of see how things work before going down. And then COVID hit and lots of crazy things, but so here we are.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
That's the history behind the historic preservation committee. No, it's great. What do you think? What do you think for meetings? When would your first meeting be?
So I think we should have a meeting this week.
Okay.
If we can, before Isabel leaves the town office position.
Yep.
That way she's got some knowledge moving up to this point, and I think we could sort of glean some ideas from her and kind of discuss the process moving forward, discuss a schedule, and set some target dates.
Yep.
So. Is that the question?
Yeah, I was just thinking of like, just sort of frequency and what.
So, yeah, I think, I think if this were, I actually like to see this like a limited number of meetings,
Yep.
like I think we should have a number, you know, not like meet for, you know, months, you know, just open-ended. I
Yep.
think we should have sort of a timeline, kind of a delivery date. And like I said, in our last meeting, I think we'll have whoever the consultant is do the writing and the editing for this. So
Yep.
They'll be on a timeline and a schedule. So that will be, should be clear and concise. The meetings will be open to the town, to general public. So anybody's welcome to come and hear the proceedings, and maybe we can post a schedule on it so the town knows what and where those will be.
So you think, I mean, you think they'll be here or? you think they'll be here?
I think this would be a good place, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So like I said, just when you figure out what time works for everybody, just we'll post it on the website at least so that it's out there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool.
And then, yeah, and just reach out when you have anything to report back to the board. We can put it on the agenda and we can give updates as I think for that.
I think that will be the idea, and then, you know, at some point, we're gonna have something, you know, a draft created.
Right.
And then, you know, at some point, we have to go to the town for approval.
Yep.
And so we'll go through hearing process.
Yep.
You know, with the planning board and a, you know, hearing schedule.
Now, you have a question?
Hot seat is yours.
Where I don't think anything is old enough to count. One thing that the citizen would like to see is that the minutes from the development sessions be posted in a timely manner so that folks who are away for the winter or a non-resident can follow the process. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Earl Paris, and I live on the Sheepscot Road in Newcastle. These three districts that you're talking about, are these already codified as far as where they are?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's the historical district in town, you said, I think you said? And then the Sheepscot Village?
Yeah.
And are they mapped yet?
Yeah, they are. So
Okay,
if you
Matt.
look in the, so referring to our code, our zoning map.
Yeah.
Special district historic.
Mhm.
And so it's delineated on those properties that would be
Yeah.
subject to it.
Now, are these three districts, is this the sole place where this activity is going to be taking place? No matter what you have for structures outside of this district, you're not going to come after those as far as being concerned.
Well, I don't think come after it's the right term, but
I
think-
don't mean it,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think, you know, I think we have to talk about this, but you know, the focus has been talking about this idea before we got to the idea of preservation ordinance, was that these districts delineated in the zoning map would be the focus areas.
Mhm.
Put it that way.
Are you looking at facades or are you looking at actual structures,
Oh, no,
the total structure itself?
I don't know, Merle. I mean, I think this is part of our discussion, you know, through the.
So
process.
that hasn't been, that will be brought up in discussion and we will have a chance to
Correct.
further
yeah,
discussion on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My concern is that I don't really want anybody thinking that they could come around and designate my house, no
Okay.
matter how old it is. This is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, it's my property. And, you know, I own the rights to it. And I don't think anybody should be able to come around and tell me what I do with it. So that's just my opinion
I gotcha.
on it. Okay,
That's, you're not in the historic district.
that's correct. I went through this. I was the chair of the planning board when we did this originally with the historic
With the
districts
design
and the
review committee?
facades
Yeah.
and it was very confusing for a while, but then things started to work on it. I mean, it has its purpose.
Yeah, I mean, you might know, I was chair of the design review committee for 7 years and I'm very well aware, and remember what its weaknesses was.
Hmm.
And it had some strengths too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so,
But
yeah.
I'm really firmly entrenched in my opinion about my home and the rights to my land. Okay, so that you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we recognized in the, one of the weaknesses of the design review ordinance was the broad sort of aspect of it. It did capture a lot of properties that had no need to be in design districts.
Now, how about the Francis Perkins house down the road here? Is that going to be,
I don't know, I mean.
federal
there's-
registered properties are different? Are you
there's
going
a-
to treat
there's a
them
good-
differently?
There's a good question, an example, I mean, that house is a national landmark. So,
Yeah.
it's under its own protections, but I think Merle, come to the meetings, and you'll hear what our discussions are, and I
Yeah.
think,
Well-
we want to hear what, we got to first sort of come up with the
Yeah.
sort of templated.
And as Mel said, I'd like to be able to, I might not be able to attend the meetings, all the meetings, but I would like to see the minutes, be able to read the minutes. If they could be put online.
Okay.
And, that we could read them that way would be good too, and then comment. That's all I have. Thank you very much
Thanks.
and good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right,
But there's one more.
Oh.
I assume this is.
Hi, I'm Steve Gaskin from 52 North Newcastle Road, pretty new to town. I'm on the fire department. And I own a historic home from 1774 on North Newcastle Road. It's in the historic district.
Hmm.
And I have no personal objection to historic districts or to what you're trying to do, I suspect, because I love old houses. And my question is, I moved in and there was a historical review board.
Mhm.
And then by the time I was working on my house, which is rather thorough since it needed about everything, there was no regulation whatever. Can you just, if it's not too boring a question, can you give me a little historic background as to what happened and why you're trying to do this today? I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. So, we had a design review ordinance for about 20 years. And does that sound right, Merle? About 20 years, 98 or so it started, and that was an ordinance that captured your house in that district. And so I think what happened was you came forward because that was a requirement of that district. And in the meantime, the new code was processed and that ordinance was disbanded. So, what we did here during that process, and I think you heard it too, Joel, was that, people were concerned in historic neighborhoods like Glidden Street, like Sheepscott Village, that there'd be no sort of oversight on anybody that wanted to do anything to their houses. Their neighbor could do, put a glass and concrete addition on their house that wouldn't fit the context of the village. So they were concerned about that. So the idea was carrying that forward. Well, a preservation ordinance would be a lot more specific to both the area and to the sort of the scope of what it would look at. So here we are today. It's taken a while for us to get back to rubber on the street, and that's kind of what we're looking to develop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.
I was the head of the Conservation Commission in Sherburne, Massachusetts for many years, so I'm long experience with talking to cranky millionaires and trying to tell them what to do with their property,
Yeah.
which sometimes does not go too well. Like they'd personally sue me. But but they never. But I think generally it's a good thing. There's a lot of nice characters. in this town.
I think the idea with it too is much like in a lot of the discussions with the code that we had. The idea is for all the rules to be very objective instead of subjective.
Yeah.
And that was one of the weaknesses of the design review, is that it was a very subjective process. And so it wasn't very clear, and depending on who was listening and hearing, about something that was going on. Yeah, it just didn't work that well. So I think the idea with this one would be to sort of follow the same, sort of rhythm and function as our code, and be more objective, so that clearer, easier to understand.
Okay. Well, I could see how that would happen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All I can say is more cornice.
Well, feel free, I'm sorry, your first name is?
Steve.
Steve, feel free to come to the meetings, okay? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so all those, any other discussion, comments? All right, all those in favor of appointing those members and starting up the ad hoc historic preservation committee? All right, passes. Passes 4 with 1 absent. All right, moving on to 7.4. Fiscal year 24 budget review reserves. That. Sarah, do you wanna take us through the changes, and then maybe circle back on and get detail on the different pieces?
Yeah, I'll kick it
as
off.
we go.
So I'll just start by saying there are only 3 lines that we're proposing an adjustment at this time. At presently, the roads capital projects budget line is a placeholder. I don't have that number yet. So I just put in what we had budgeted last year. That number will change.
It's going up.
I don't, I'll keep you apprised.
Materials are up so much.
Materials and labor are
Yeah.
both up a lot. So I don't know yet where it's going to fall, because we are considering for our capital project phase 2 in this next year to be Island Road, which has some complexities that the roads in the past couple of years don't have. However, it is also less miles. However, labor and material costs have increased. So we'll see, bear with me on that. The other lines that have changes include restoring our municipal building reserve line back up to where it was in the previous fiscal year, FY 22, up to 75,000. This, as you'll see, is due to a number of proposed changes to town buildings, including the Sheepskit station, the Huntley station, and town office, where repairs and systems need to be looked at and addressed. And again, costs have gone up again. We need to talk about what projects we want to include this coming year and whether you're all okay with that. And the other line to change that has an increase proposed in it is for our fire truck reserve. And it's for the same reason. It's that costs continue to rise for the cost of fire trucks. We want to make sure that we're adequately putting away enough at this time to be able to buy a fire truck in now 4 years, that one of our engines needs to be replaced, that we've discussed. I also sent around lists that our fire chief had forwarded us. One for capital improvements that we need to be considering for equipment and equipment replacement schedules. This is not necessarily a request solely for this year. It's just something that we need to be looking at and considering when budgeting, and figure out how we want to maybe start preparing for these upcoming expenses. The other list that Casey sent us was for building improvements that are a few things that need to be addressed that are a recommendation of the fire department at this time. So those can be discussions when we talk about the fire department, when we talk about reserves. There are a few items on there that we may want to consider creating a reserve for, such as a hose replacement line. we know that every year, and Casey can speak to this certainly better than I can, every year we need to replace a certain number of feet in hose, and it makes sense to be maybe creating a line for that if you all would like to budget for that expense each year. Those are some conversations I guess I'm hoping to have tonight. The other part of the conversation, and I'm not sure how deep we want to get into this, but we did just recently change our undesignated fund policy, and we're looking to maybe move some money into reserve lines and capital projects, not necessarily all at once, but start thinking about this is a regular budget recommendation, but there's a separate conversation to be had about what projects do we want to be moving some money from undesignated fund balance to fund. So I'll let, if you, do you all have any questions, or I'll just open up the floor to you to
So-
talk about the lines.
My question is just on the municipal building reserve. My understanding is that the increase this year is to capture the the firehouse for the maintenance and for those things that Casey's providing this.
Correct, in addition to town office repairs. We need to start thinking about, Tom has been working with me to go through some of the systems in town office that
Yeah.
we might want to talk about in this conversation. Joel has seen it too, the fuel tank, the the boiler, things like that. We might want to start coming with a plan for, and it's clear that we're going to need a little more money in that line to fund this projects. I just got a quote from Kensel Crop for 6,000 for fascia trim replacement. That wouldn't be for this next fiscal year budget. It would be for this, but
At the town office. Yeah.
6,000?
that's wrong.
Uh,
Yeah,
and-
and gutters.
And that's the town of Scott section
Um,
as well, or just?
That's just town office. Yeah, we walked around the building and didn't see rotten fascia trim on the Tannis
Oh, okay.
section,
Wow.
but that's another conversation we really
Sure.
do
Co-
need to
Well,
have.
it's covered in tin plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't see it.
yeah.
Right.
Don't see it. So just to go quickly through, just as a, just a little explainer in how these reserve accounts, some of these reserve accounts work. So like the reason that we have roads capital projects in the reserves is because it's a way to capture that money if the project moves into another fiscal year, then we can still use it for that line. So that's the purpose. That's the reason we have that line. That's your understanding too, right?
Right,
Sarah?
right.
And so then the certain things like the computer reserve, we used to, when you look back, you can see it was like, it's sort of all over the map, and it was basically kind of what we needed at that time. At that year, that we sort of budgeted for what we needed that year. We were, didn't replace a bunch of things and replaced a bunch of things and worked on our server and different things like that. And then we started moving it more into just putting a set amount of money aside so that we were budgeting for it as we went rather than all at once. And so that's where I think when we get into, the reason I'm bringing this up is that when we get into looking at some of our undesignated fund balance, if we start creating other reserves, it'd be important to just sort of understand the difference between some of them as we move forward. And that's a piece that's it's a little hard to, it can be hard to capture, in this format where we just have it all in a line. But yeah, it would be a way to do it. And then the municipal building reserve, again, we would do that for sort of based on projects that we had going. And then over the last couple of years, we knew we had things to do, but we didn't have specific projects. We sort of put lumps of money aside for it. But again, we've got we're starting to get a better list as to things we need to plan for the town office. So I think again, sort of going through that way was a good way to look at it. And calculating that number.
Why do we have a fringe benefit reserve?
Fringe benefit reserve exists I have a note here in the bottom, established to fund withdrawals from benefits accrued for employees. It used to be a line there for the way benefits were distributed. It was, I believe, mostly for the town manager. It's still being utilized for fringe benefit purposes that we have outside of our regularly budgeted benefit. taxes, I believe. Joel, maybe you have some background as to why
I-
that was created.
I can't. I thought it was. But the number doesn't add up for that. I thought it was something. That was established. Ooh. I thought it was something that was established for, accrued time. It was like if someone cashed out their
Oh, I
accrued
see.
time all at once, that we had the money to. I
That
think,
is what that says, actually.
think
so
that's
that
what
makes
I
sense.
think that's what it was, but the
Hmm.
thing that doesn't. That's,
Yeah, why is
And-
the year to date all spent?
yeah, I don't, and that's where, and that could just be something that was. That could just be something that wasn't caught by, I don't know.
Well, I will say these figures at this point are based off of the 2020 audit because we don't have or the 2021 audit, excuse me,
Mhm.
because we don't have the 2022 audit. So
Okay.
these are estimations based on our accounts.
Okay.
I'll verify it when we have our new audit. We won't have. at
So-
this point.
So I think that one would be the only one that I would say. We just want to make sure that we have enough. But we don't need to have,
Right.
that
We
doesn't,
want to know what it is.
it
and-
doesn't need to
Mhm.
exponentially.
Right.
Go, because we do have those. We do have that accrued time. We have to go back into all that stuff. We do have that capped. I think at a certain
We do.
point, right?
Yes, we do. You can accrue up to, I believe it's around 400 hours in earned paid leave. You can cash out up to, I think it's up to. It's up, don't quote me on this. It's a couple of weeks, I believe, in the personnel policy that you can cash out on every
Right.
year. You just have to get approval to cash out on a certain number. And then if someone were to leave, we'd have to pay out the remainder, but you're right, there is a cap on.
So I would just be curious to see if the 23 year to date, if we've actually spent money out of that account or not.
No. No.
Shouldn't be.
we have-
Okay.
And then it's also just that whole. Number game of figuring out what it is. What it is we need. And,
Right.
You know. all that-
Having the right
all
number
that
in
kind
there.
of Stuff. and
Yep.
What that really means. and,
Yep.
But it's for the big, it's for. If someone left and we have
Yep.
to pay out.
Yeah.
The whole.
That
the
makes
whole
sense.
thing. So
Yep.
that's the.
Okay.
That's the line behind, the story behind that one, I think.
And you're going to stick to
And
that.
then I'm gonna stick to that. And then again, the fire truck reserve, we haven't been. We just started putting
Mhm.
money away for that, so.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why are we confused about what these items are? You know what I'm saying?
About what, like the fringe benefit?
Yeah.
lines?
Like, why, I feel like we're kind of, no disrespect. I
actually-
feel like we're kind of
But I
guessing,
knew
but
it.
I know you do. But
so I
but you,
didn't-
if you weren't here tonight, me and Tom and Karen would be like, what is this?
It'd be in trouble. I'm just saying, this is why I'm an important guy to keep around.
All right,
No, I think again, it's. I mean, I think this does exist. It's just, it's something that we don't look at that much.
I gotcha.
We need more clarity on
But
it
we do
then.
need more clarity on.
I
it.
don't know the history of why it
And
was created, but I know who to call to ask.
Well,
If I
yeah,
can-
I mean, there's institutional knowledge in the town for sure. If it isn't Joel, somebody would remember.
Yeah.
But the point is this, that how come we don't have like a little description?
Yeah.
To what this
Well,
is.
and I think as we. Sort of one of my points for this is that as we move through creating these reserve accounts. It'd be important, like if you look at Harriet Bird Clubhouse, so Harriet Bird Clubhouse has been $1,500 forever. And the question always comes up, well, what is this, is the, draining the pipes or doing, the little repairs, does that come out of that? No, it's something where it's like. I guess there's a plan or a thought maybe to do a bigger. renovation or fix the floor or do something, put a new kitchen in, I don't know. But that's the idea behind that. And again, that's just from, the only reason I know that is because it's come up before and that's been the discussion and we just continued
Yeah.
to
no,
treat it that way. And I think that's a fine way to do that.
Mhm.
But it is important to have, as if we start putting bigger money into some of these reserves, if it's a one-time thing or if it's something that we're doing, annually, it's just good to, know why. So
Yeah.
for again, the fire truck reserve, the idea with that was the same with computers, was that rather than paying for these items all at once,
mhm.
We're saving. We have a savings account.
we're saving, and it's things that depreciate like that, like a computer or like a vehicle, fire truck, fire equipment, things like that. You're basically kind of like paying the depreciation over time. So it's a fair way for the taxpayer to fund that rather than all at once, or bonding or whatever. And I guess that, it does raise the question. Yeah, if that's a wise way to do it or not. And it's just, but that's,
I guess, like, it's, these are, to me, I'm thinking of that these are crumbs from past select boards. So
It is.
at one point, these were created by a group of
correct.
people like us, and we said, hey, I got a good idea. Let's create a reserve for this. And here's the intent of that. And then, seats change, people change, and the memory goes away. And so I'm just saying, like, if we could have like a little
Maybe more
abstract
description.
or in
So
like a,
the alewife reserve.
Yeah.
I've never, the entire time I've been on the board, we've never put a penny into the alewife reserve.
Yeah.
We have a reserve, we have a fund from the harvest.
Yeah.
That we use to then,
yeah. Well,
pay for repairs and do things like that. The question has always been, can we get rid of this line?
Yeah.
And I think we can't, because there is a reserve.
Mhm.
There is a balance.
And there
Yes.
is a balance there, so we can't get rid of the line. And then we used to have some other ones, and it was like, people didn't want to get rid of them because you're gonna have to redo the numbers, and somehow at some point that was a big deal to change the numbers on things.
well, my
But-
question, like, item 3, highway equipment. Why do we have highway equipment?
Because we used to have highway equipment, and that's a question that comes up, like, why do we still have it on there?
We can repeal
And I-
these lines though, that have no
They get,
budget in them. But the only thing is, in order to get rid of a reserve
no,
account, we just have to have it voted on.
I understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
but we can do that.
100%. But I'm just saying, like, there's no need for it. It's zero, carrying zero along.
Do some housekeeping.
Yeah.
If you tell me to do that, I'll do it.
Like
We'll
we
put
could
it
get
on
rid
the
of
warrant.
number 3 and number 11, I guess.
And number 11 too.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Right.
What?
I do remember item 3, because we funded a bunch of stuff for it, and then the interlocal dissolved right then, so then we just gave roads out of it. But yeah, that can be, that could go away. So maybe we should put that on the list of items to
Vote on. Yeah.
vote on, unless we want to start a public works department.
No.
I didn't say we were, I said if we wanted to. I'm just trying to get some sound bites for the paper. you
Oh,
know?
okay, good.
It
Yeah.
doesn't even fund a department. It just funds equipment for.
It's because of the way, it's a long story.
Yeah, it's a lot of
boring
history.
one,
Never
but-
mind. I don't.
But I
wanna-
can explain
I'm
it
not-
to you at some point.
I'm not proposing anything there. I'm just.
Denver Scott owned
facetious.
equipment, he owned equipment.
Um,
So yeah, I think all those things look good. I think that we should look at the municipal building reserve and again, just total up all what we're looking at possibly spending for this coming year and just keep that,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think,
put it
Absolutely.
at that, and we give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, obviously, for north-south
Yeah.
changes.
I mean, I don't have any comment on roads capital projects, because we haven't talked to Seth and we haven't heard any.
Right.
Details,
Right.
so
We don't have a
I'm not
budget.
commenting on, I'm not commenting necessarily on the budgets, that one that's very detailed, I don't have input on that.
I would say that if we could classifying the municipal building reserve to just explain maintenance, maintenance and repair, or whatever, just if in case we end up putting together a building reserve for building a new building
Mhm.
at some point, or a larger project, if we're gonna take undesignated, money out of the undesignated fund balance,
Mhm.
just an idea of something that we could put it towards.
Mhm.
So that would want to be something different. Again, we wouldn't want it to be confusing. Or the two municipal
Right.
building reserves.
Well, I have to call it something else then
And
and establish, we have to vote on establishing that as well, correct?
On
Just to
establishing what?
change the name, I'm not, I'd have to check with Peter on that.
Okay.
Let
We
me,
don't-
let me check.
do we have to vote we don't have to vote to establish, I mean, that's done at town meeting,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
So we don't have to have it's not like a special meeting to.
Okay.
To do, and I think if we're just clarifying something. I don't think
Right,
that
because we're
changes.
not changing the purpose. We would just maybe be changing the name to Municipal Building Maintenance Reserve or something, where it's
Okay.
not changing the goal. I'm not positive if we would have, so let me double check on that. But we would, in order to make a new reserve line, we would have. to
Right.
have a vote, Right.
Right. 'Cause
Just at town meeting as part of the budget process.
Right.
So just, once because we recommend it, and then as long as,
Okay,
you know,
so if we want to set up a separate one for property acquisition or building acquisition or something, if we decided to do that with a new town office, then
we would just
Yep.
put that in the.
we can
reserves
put it
line.
in, okay,
Within
we'll
the-
establish it.
Vote to establish, just like we did for the I believe it was the
The
fire truck one
yep.
last year. We had a
Okay.
separate warrant article
Okay.
to.
So can we talk about that for a little bit? The property.
Yeah, I just want to go,
Okay.
just want to, again, just circle back to your first thought. Just in the explanation of these things and having historical knowledge of it.
Mhm.
And it might be, I don't know where it lives.
Right here, right here,
I mean, it could live right there.
underneath in the
Um,
notes.
but again, just a brief description of its purpose.
Mhm.
For what it is, and just to sort of delineate the difference between something that's like almost like a savings account, or putting money away over time to help offset the cost of, say, a fire truck or a computer,
Mhm.
replacing computer equipment, and capital roads, which is meant to
Right.
be expended
Every year.
fully, you know what I mean? And then same thing with, however we delineate these different things, just so
Yeah.
that the intent is clear for future boards. Just
Yep.
to understand what that is. And then again, because some of these things, these numbers might start getting really high.
Yep.
And you say, we have this in reserve, we can keep that balance, much like we do with or we haven't done with our undesignated
Yep.
fund balance. But again, we don't want to stash. The intent is not to stash
No.
money all over the place and.
No. Yeah,
sort of
this would be a
forget
good,
about it.
this would probably be a good place because this is always going to, in the notes, a good description. It's always going to be kind of attached to this in the file. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a
no,
good place. for
I
it.
mean, these are key, but they're very brief and they're not. They're not
Right.
all there, so.
Right.
um,
So, but just, I guess especially if we start creating new ones, we want the intent. to be
Yeah,
Pretty clear.
That's what I'm
So
saying,
that,
yeah.
so that
Yeah.
again, the town understands what it is. And
Mhm.
then as years go on,
Mhm.
people sitting in these seats, will also understand. the intent.
Right.
Continue to-
That would be good. Mhm.
And then, do we want to talk about before we get into, Casey, did you have some things you wanted to present, or?
Mhm.
Did,
We're going to watch
and it-
Netflix.
No,
and it, and
I
is,
want to show you a picture.
and is it, okay, okay,
Is it kitten pictures?
Do you want
Is
me to do the fire stuff first? Or?
Or fireworks?
did you want to go over any of the building, maintenance stuff
Only
that
if
you
you have any
present?
questions.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's go over it.
I'd like to go over it. If you want to just
Sure.
come up and.
Yep.
You can show us it. Is the picture something different? What's the picture?
Well, let him get into his whole thing here.
It's a fire truck. Oh.
Oh, that's gonna be
Alright.
fun.
Yeah, let's go through the boring building stuff first, Casey. I don't want to see a fire truck right now. I want to talk about painting. All right, let me just grab, give me a second. Give me a sec. Can we start with the, building?
We sure can.
Okay, hold on, let me get to the building. All right, I'm on the buildings. Okay, so if you want to just go through and just
Sure.
explain the project.
So the first one under building is lighting. Roughly 5 or 6 years ago, all the lights in the bay area out there were replaced. And now over half of them are out again. So I got quotes to replace them all or fix the ones that are there.
Yeah.
It was a bit more, not double to replace the ones that are there, but it was around 6,000 or so to fix them, and then 10,000 to replace them all. But the thought was that if we fixed them again, they might only last another 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
whereas the lights that they said they would put in new, has had really good luck with them and would easily last more than 5 or 6 years like we have now. So I put in the budget to replace all of them with ones that we don't have to worry about anymore, hopefully. They're LED now, so these new ones would be LED also. And also, we've been talking for a couple of years now about lighting up the sign outside on the front of the building. So we've kind of narrowed down what we would like to see for the type of light and whatnot. I worked with Thor on that a little bit to help design that. And so that I budgeted to include, so the 15,000 is to do the inside lights plus light up the sign.
What on earth? What is wrong with the lights that they would only last 5 years? Any idea? Were they crap
it's-
or were they,
It's
is it bad electrical? What's the?
a multi-situational.
I'm just,
situation.
most lights last a lot longer than that. I
Yeah,
mean, what's,
absolutely.
any, no clue as to what,
They just failed. They know they're like, there's circuit boards in there and stuff, I think, and
It could, yeah. Is there, one question I have, and it's something we can maybe look into as well, is there might be still some money for efficiency main.
Mhm.
And we're replacing what we're replacing, but there might be a way, I don't know. You know,
Rebates in and out.
Yeah.
There's a full form
And
and they fill out and. Seeing as they're replacing LEDs, I don't know if those weren't
are those LEDs
efficiency
out there?
main.
I-
Qualifying LEDs, it might still qualify
Yeah.
for efficiency main money, so.
Cause I know
Be a
that
question,
I know that when we looked into it in years past, they used to, municipalities weren't able to capture any efficiency main money, and that's changed.
Yeah.
So we can do that. So the heat pump would be one place where I think we can recapture some money. Potentially for efficiency main on that one.
it'd be worth looking into anyway.
Yeah, but it'd be worth looking into that, 'cause it might be some saving, and then you just have to make sure that the contractor is efficiency main certified and all that stuff.
Mhm. So the flooring, I'd like to replace the flooring in the chief's office, the bathroom out there, and also the day room and the dispatch room. It's got the same flooring that this floor used to have.
Yeah.
And it's in pretty rough shape.
The same stuff, maybe?
Yeah, I was thinking the same
Yep.
stuff. I don't have, that is just my guesstimate. We're working on getting a more actual quote, but I'm not sure what that's gonna be, to be honest with you. So
Okay.
we should have that this week.
Yep.
And the painting, there hasn't been any painting done out there past this door since it was built, so the firefighters take a lot of pride in maintaining the firehouse that they work in. and they make them as respectable, safe and welcoming as possible. And how the firehouse is cared for is representative of the character of the firefighters who serve there. I was in Bremen Fire Station and, you know, the ceiling has nice glossy white paint on it. Looks really clean. It's very inviting. I would like to kind of, it's been, you know, over 20 years since the station's been painted, so I want it to look nice and clean out there. I think it's time for a paint job. So,
And
Um,
I'm praying that you're gonna say that you just pulled this number out of the air and it's not a quote. That just sounds like so much money to paint the inside.
well, I think this room was $5,000 to paint, so.
It's a big area.
I know it is.
It's a
Yeah.
lot
Just
of
like,
paint. So, I mean, are you,
So there's the bay area
Yeah.
and, you know, the bathroom, the day room, and
bunch of rooms.
the office, chief's office, so.
That sounds like enough.
a lot of
Paint
paint.
this
Oh.
room too.
We have some contractors on the department that are familiar with paint costs, so
Okay.
we kind of,
So that is realistic.
it's somewhat realistic, yeah, so.
Yeah, honest, it doesn't. surprise me.
no, it seems, I mean, it's. Hopefully we find someone who
Things have
can,
gotten
s-
so
who
expensive.
can spray, because I mean, that'd be a perfect spray.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's, yeah. A lot of work, and you obviously have to take trucks out. and
Yeah.
move Stuff. I mean, it's not the easiest
No.
thing it's not
Get
like you
stuff out
just,
of the way.
not like you just click, you know, it's not like it's a brand new space and you just going in.
Yeah.
It's shuffling around and
Mhm.
moving. And
Well, but the
This
paint
and that.
contractor's not gonna move. You got shelving out there too, right?
Yeah, so we'd
Right.
have to move all that out
that.
of their way. Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
That's here.
yeah. So I'd say the home port ended up doing the flooring in here. So it'd be good to just see, they know the product and they know the subfloor and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It'd
that's
be
who
good
we
to-
have given a.
So that'd be
quote
good.
Or an estimate.
And then painting contractors, I guess, just get a couple of quotes from different people.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We'd have to put that out to bid, I guess, wouldn't we?
we'd have to put that out to bid.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that we might want to just do at the same time for the painting, I mean, not to keep pushing that number up, but just have whoever does the painting, maybe just do a once over on the outside too, just anything that needs it. Not much out there, but there is some.
Oh, you mean like the trim?
Yeah.
Trim paint?
I'm trying to remember, it might be all vinyl.
Is it all vinyl? It
I'm
is.
not 100% sure.
Okay.
But there's the doors, steel doors.
Yeah.
So there are some detail, yeah.
It'd just be good. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
while we got a painter here,
Yeah,
once you
yeah.
get a painter here, just keep them painting.
Mhm.
So, yeah. No, that makes sense. And then the heat pump,
Yeah, for Sheepsket Station, we're progressing, trying to get, some more equipment out there. We want to move one of our engines out there, put some gear racks out there. But we have a problem, that seems to be continuing from before. There was a fair amount of work done out there because of moisture in the building. And it's continuing.
Okay.
So, the furnace and the oil tank are original from 1986, so those are starting to become a big liability. So I was thinking that if we took out the furnace and the oil tank and installed heat pump, that it would keep it dry.
Yeah.
And keep the moisture out. And heat it too. And we put a connection for a generator out there. So, you know, if we lost power, we'd still be able to maintain heat. and
Yeah.
whatnot. So,
is the moisture, is it coming up through the floor or is it like a?
the
is it
floor
like a
doesn't seem
slab?
wet, but it must be coming,
It's
just,
slab.
we've
yeah.
been in through the floor.
It wasn't, yeah. wasn't,
Yeah.
No vapor barrier. whatever.
Mhm.
And a heat pump tends to dry the air out. I don't know. that much
Yeah,
about
it'll keep it dry for sure.
just so that I'm educated on it, why do we need to heat a garage?
Cause we're gonna have a fire engine in there.
They
it-
don't like the cold.
No, they don't like the cold,
Okay.
not at all.
Okay.
So. Yeah, we have to keep them heated.
Is that building insulated?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's heated right now, right?
Mhm.
Aside from the
Yeah.
1986 boiler.
The, there's hot water heater out there and stuff like that. I mean, there's no hot water out there.
No,
Only
there's-
cold water.
there was work done electrically, so we can get water out there, but there's a well, it's not hooked
Oh. It's a firehouse without any water. That doesn't seem right.
up. So yeah, in terms to make it more active, the power's been main as part of expenses.
Yeah, we've had power run over there now. And we've had some electric cord drop, so we can plug in the trucks, keep them charged, installed. So now we just need to put in the pressure tank. And we'll have a spigot there for a hose and whatnot,
Oh, okay.
to wash and fill trucks or a brush truck. It would take a long time to fill the
Yeah.
1,000-gallon tank with a garden hose, but we could fill the 125-gallon tank on the brush truck, in a reasonable amount of times. Yeah, and the other thing was just paint out there too. So
Interior or exterior or?
interior. Mhm. And up there, probably, the trim might need some exterior trim.
Yeah.
Probably could use some work. I don't believe that's smart.
We've only done bits and pieces out there over the years.
Yeah.
It's just been kind of as needed.
Mhm.
Pencil's done some work out there,
Yeah,
doing a few things, and then
we have a fair amount of members out there now, so that's why I want to, put a little bit more into the station,
Yeah.
and get an
Mhm.
engine moved out there, and it will greatly increase the potential for fire protection in that part of town.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And it's great.
So the paint, Casey, again, that's just a plug-in number. Yeah, so gotta try to combine those two projects at the same,
yeah, that
Maybe.
would definitely help. for
Yeah.
sure. Mhm.
Yeah, and like I said, there might be some money on the heat pump. Heat pump situation. Out there.
A little bit.
And then, was it, I mean, while we're just on heat pumps, there was a little bit of talk or maybe it was something we talked about once, was maybe adding a heat pump for the, in
In the day room.
the day room. I don't know, do you think that's just for mostly for cooling in the summer,
Right.
because it gets,
Yeah, we do
Part of
put
the-
window ACs in the chief's office and the chief's office is actually connected to this
Yeah,
room
so
now, and that worked pretty good this last summer.
okay,
But we do put the window one in the day room.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there was anything left over from the town office, because we had talked about moving some of that equipment in here at one point, but
now.
I don't
we're
know what
just
ended up with that.
We're gonna just keeping it where it was.
Okay,
But
So-
what's the heating for the whole rest of the structure though? Is that,
it's in floor heat.
Oil, yeah.
is it 1986 vintage too, or no, this was not
No.
old, but
No, it's 2001.
so that's still okay.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lifespan of a boiler is around 30 years, so we're at 20 now.
Yeah.
But that's a boiler replacement, not necessarily, and I don't think you'd be able to heat this building with anything but that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a big load out there, so. But no, I did not include putting something in the day room in this.
Yeah.
but, might be something that we want to consider for sure.
I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
as we look to,
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if we can just add on to this equipment here or not, if it's big enough
Think-
or,
I think if we just probably put a mini split in over there.
I don't-
when you
If,
think.
if I
It's
remember correctly,
disconnected enough that I don't think it'd be feasible to get done.
if I remember correctly, that was just it. It was that the day room is on its own cement pad, so we weren't able to feed floor vents into that room, so they recommended doing a separate.
I mean, it might be worth at least getting numbers on out there and here.
Mhm.
Again, sometimes if even though they're in two separate locations, if we get them done at the same time.
yeah, and I think we should look
Yeah.
into those grants too, because I believe for municipalities, there's substantial grants for anything electric that you're trying to upgrade.
Yeah.
And up to almost paying for the whole thing, so.
Yeah.
Something definitely.
That'd be good.
Something.
Yes, we could add in like the heat pump here, like add it. It's not like we can necessarily do everything in 1 year, but at least we'll know what the things are that we need to do in the next
Exactly.
year or two or three. We can make plans for it all.
I have a question, about our bid ordinance.
Yep.
Which is, I think, triggered at 25,000.
Correct.
So, is that by item or in aggregate,
By project.
by project? So, I mean, this is obviously like this building, the Huntley Station is obviously a project, right?
Mhm.
You would consider that one project.
Yep.
And the Sheepscut Station is a project, but it's not over 25 in anticipation budget,
Mhm.
right?
You could
So it's-
separate.
You could separate them. I mean, we talked about some cost benefit of combining, maybe painting, something like that, but.
There may also be benefit to going up to bid if you decided you wanted to do that though, because then you get a roster of quotes and see what's out there, but
Yeah.
yes, if it hits if it's 25,000.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that clarification, thinking about.
By project has been in the past, not necessarily lighting, flooring, painting all one number. Then you'd be looking at the general contractor that facilitate all those items, so we'd be looking at talking to an electrician about the lighting.
Yeah, okay,
You know,
gotcha.
So that
Those are
would be
separate.
broken up by separate items.
So it's more by contract of that rather than by,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
better way of putting it,
Kind
is
of.
by contract. for
Okay.
sure.
Especially in a situation
Yeah.
like this where it's, because
No,
again, the only way to get all this done would be to put it out and have a general contractor oversee all the.
yeah, no, I mean, here's the difference. If painting was 20,000, something 15, 10.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Then you wouldn't have to go out to bid because in theory, by contract, you'd be contracting.
Yep.
3 different contractors, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I just want to make that
And again,
distinguish that difference, but.
getting a quote, from a couple different contractors would, I think, help us get that range.
Yep.
so
Yeah.
We knew where we were at with it.
What's the hose, Casey? The hose
Oh,
expense here.
Every year we have our hose tested and it's required. And over the last 3 years, we've been losing some lengths of hose and we're getting down to the point where we can't lose anymore. We need to start replacing some hose. It's the 4-inch hose that we've been losing. And the original stuff is probably 20 years or more older. So it's around $500 for a 100-foot length. This is to replace 10 of those. 10 of those lengths.
10 out of,
And
How
then,
many?
well, we have 2,000 feet on one truck, we have 1,000 feet on another truck. And then we used to keep 1,000 feet on another one, so we used to have 4,000 feet, but we've been losing and picking away from one of the engines to keep the other 2 full.
Casey, when you say losing, you mean it's deteriorating?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
deteriorated and it failed in the test and
Okay.
wouldn't hold pressure, so.
Alright.
It's a safety thing, and it's something that we're gonna face on a regular basis. So that's why we thought,
Mhm.
we don't necessarily buy hose every year though. That's why we thought the reserve account would be better option for that. It's been probably 4 or 5 years since we bought hose. But now it's time to buy some.
Would it be better just to sort of replace it as it goes? And just through the normal, just through the yearly
budget.
budget, or?
That's
is
an
that-
option, yeah,
we
for
could
sure.
We could get caught up and then.
Yeah, we could
do something.
kind of get caught up with this and then put a line in for hose in the budget, planning on maybe losing a couple every year, something like that.
How much do you think we need to replace right now?
1,000 feet.
Yeah.
So 10 lengths.
So that would be the 15. No,
No,
1,000 feet. would be more than-
Yeah, that there was some placed some extra placed in there,
Okay,
not knowing what we're gonna lose this year.
right.
So, and then a little bit extra just to have some kept in, so.
Yeah, because you're looking
to
at
not-
about $5,000 for, unless I didn't do enough, right? About $5,000 for 1,000 feet of it. Thank you,
roughly.
Merle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that,
Like, I'm not like, with too many zeros here. I'm trying to go back and forth. Okay.
and the prices are changing, you know, regularly on this stuff.
Oh, they're
like
going down?
All the stuff, no.
No.
yeah, which, you
Yeah,
know,
they're just going up and up and.
Yeah, it's,
Okay. That's the
Yeah,
Budget.
I mean, I mean, we could put a separate, fire truck reserve, and we could put something in for equipment, but in some ways it'd be better just to keep it as the yearly, you know, as we
Regular
need it-
budget.
As we need it type of thing.
Mhm.
I don't know. Just, again, to try and keep our reserve lines from getting too, you know, too many of them. But I think definitely putting in the budget, whatever we need for hose, we need to get. So I would support getting whatever we need to,
The $5,000 for the,
or just whatever,
1,000
yeah,
feet.
and if we need a little, you know, we're planning on
Mhm.
on some of it not.
maybe
not
just starting
working
a
out.
line in the regular budget for 5,000 and
Yeah.
get us
yeah,
up
or
to speed for
whatever,
this
you know,
year.
Like I
and then-
said, if you think it's gonna be more than that this year, we can budget for that, for
Mhm.
whatever we're gonna lose, but I just say keep. Yeah, we need hose. It's
Sure do.
not,
Just a point of reference, that's 4-inch hose is what goes on hydrants. That's why there's so many. So
I say,
that's. You're
In
going
between
from
trucks
hydrant
and-
to location, so. There can be thousands of feet.
Yeah.
Later.
Some long driveways out there, so.
Yeah. I mean, here's just an example where like the description might be.
Yeah.
Helpful, you know, so if whatever we put in for the hose budget or a hose reserve. Next year, we totally forget what we talked about.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever.
yeah, that's why, yeah,
So I'm just
Just put it in the
saying,
regular
it'd
budget.
be like, it'd be good to be, oh yeah, last year we talked about. You know, replacing 10 sections of hose and this is to help them.
Mhm.
Get through time. Anyway.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to. I think it's important to do that. I think it's important to, you know, again, just because a budget line goes up in a department or a section or whatever, it's not a bad thing. It just means that we're taking care of things and accounting for things, and it evens itself out pretty quickly, you know, so.
So regular budget.
I think that would be a good regular budget.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Can we get onto
That'd be
pictures?
great, and then. And then the uniforms with that, is that
Oh.
something that you wanted to do as a? Is that something that we could, again, just put in the regular, or is it something that?
Right now, over the years, the fire company has raised the money to purchase our uniforms. Probably 15 years ago, we were able to get everybody a pair of pants, a shirt, a tie, and a hat. And that's not what we call our Class A uniforms. And unfortunately, lately, we've been attending a fair amount of funerals for firefighters. And we also wear our uniforms at other events. But we're not uniform. Our fire department is not uniform. So, and we're facing a fair amount of equipment replacement projects that the fire company wants to work on to fundraise for. You know, we debated this for a while, whether we wanted to ask help from the town to purchase these uniforms or not, but we didn't see it feasible in, you know, the somewhat near future for us to be able to, the equipment is our priority for the fire company to help try to raise money for. And I'll show you when the pictures come in a minute, something that we did raise money for and we were able to purchase. So, this is a one-time type of deal. And then, you know, we wanted to put in the budget a uniform line to keep the uniforms maintained moving forward.
Yeah.
So,
My question on this would be, where does the money come from for other departments who are doing this? In towns our size?
mhm.
Is it the town that provides it, or is it fundraising, or?
It's probably a mixture of both. I can't tell you like each town for sure, but I do know that there are towns that do fund it. Um, you know, we, like I said, the equipment was, if we didn't have the equipment that we would like to replace, then we'd be able to do our uniforms, but, you know, it means a lot when you're there as a group and you all look the same, and that's why they call it uniform, right? So, but we're not right now. So
They don't
that's
call them
why
joints.
it wasn't the easiest decision for us to request this. Just so you know, it was a bit of a back and forth and, hemming and hawing, but ultimately, you know, it was decided to put the request in. You know, what happens with it, you know.
In your pictures, by chance, do you have a picture of what these Class A uniforms look like?
I could
Maybe.
probably bring one up.
Just curious. I mean,
Sure.
I've been to, when I was working with the Red Cross, I went to a number of firefighter or police officer funerals,
Mhm.
and it's pretty impressive, but I was
Yeah.
with a lot of bigger towns.
It's the dress coat
So,
with a
okay.
shirt and a tie and the hat, right? The shoes, pants, belts, everything. It's around roughly, give or take, plus, you know, plus or minus, it's around $800 a firefighter. To do it, so,
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And you can't wear them to formals and weddings and funerals, such normally. They're not multi-purpose suits.
well, I mean, you could. I mean, people do, people wear them to those types of events for sure.
All right. Now can we get on the pictures?
Yep.
Okay.
Before I put the picture up, I'll explain, what it is. The fire company has worked pretty hard at, raising some money, towards the replacement of what we call our Unit 12, which is a truck that we use for firefighter rehab and water rescue equipment. We purchased it, probably 15 years ago, for around $5,000. It's an old ambulance, and it's just come to the end of its life, and it's causing us more problems than is worth dealing with. So we knew it was time to replace it. So we raised some money. We received a grant. Last time I was here, I told you about the Stephen King grant. And the truck, we have a committee that has been looking for a replacement, and they were able to find one. You know, when these trucks pop up, you have to jump on it. Because if you don't, the next day, and someone else is gonna get it. So we did. We found one in Pennsylvania, and we have purchased it yesterday. So
Congratulations.
I'll show you a picture of it. Yeah. So, this truck is, it's not your typical looking fire truck. But it's gonna be very functional for what we need. Where's the remote? There it is.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
So this is a 2005. It's a Freightliner
Great,
chassis.
yeah.
It has 9,500 miles on it. Has a 25 kW generator. It has a light tower on the top. You can kind of see it in the back there. It also has a full Cascade air compressor for filling tanks.
Oh, wow.
And it has seat belted seating for 11 people. It just really fit what we would need to use the truck for.
And that's what it was for in this.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty
Particular-
much that's what it was for. And they had it custom built for that purpose when they bought it. So it's really worked out well for us. And it's about it's a lot less than what we were thought we were gonna have to spend to get a truck like that, so.
Wonder if I could get rid of it.
What is the thing like that one?
We paid 35,000 for it,
Good deal.
That seems
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
What year is it?
2005.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
9,500 miles.
Yeah.
So where it came from, they've consolidated 3 departments and they decided to get rid of some equipment.
Yeah.
So,
Ah,
That's just.
yeah, so
yeah,
we benefited pretty good from it.
2 questions, Casey.
Yeah.
When do you get it and do you have to paint it yellow?
Well, we will probably definitely consider painting it yellow. And you know, I'm not sure when it's gonna be here. We have to line that up with a shipping company. It might be this week or it could be in 3 weeks, but
Okay.
it should be coming along fairly soon.
that's
Cool.
exciting.
You know, it's nice when we can see these projects through, you know, and, you know, not have to come to the town and at least put it in the tax base. We do ask the town for donation of the citizens, but with the grants and the combination of everything, it works out really well. Yep.
Excellent.
Nice work.
So,
Very good.
what's that? Right, yeah, it doesn't have the new diesel emissions on it, so. Mhm. Yeah, so truck committee did a great job, finding it and working on it and working on getting it for us, so.
That's great.
Any other questions about it?
I just sold my 2019 Sprinter with 36,000 for more than you paid for that, so. You did well. Or I did well. I don't know. We both did well. That's great. See, isn't it good we saved that for last? We didn't just jump right in.
Save the best for last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't want to jump right. I mean, it's jump right into that and then
No,
talk
no.
about peeling paint.
Yeah.
It's fun. So,
Well, now he does have the equipment.
yeah, that's just,
Yep.
I think. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to go over that or not.
That's just kind of an awareness thing. And as you know, we're in the process now of working on replacement of engine 8. So we've been working with a dealer and we asked them, you know, what's the annual percentage increase right now? And he said 16%. And these are very expensive vehicles, as you know. I did the calculation compared to what we think we're gonna spend for the new truck. Because it's gonna be very similar to the last one we bought in 2012, and we've basically realized a 7% increase since we bought the last truck that we bought. So these numbers reflect a 10% increase. Hopefully it's not that high, but it's 16 now, so what do you use for a number? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but those are, to me, those are some scary numbers.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm looking at,
Those look
$6.
yeah, I mean, if it's 10% every year,
Yeah.
then, you know, in 2042, when it's 30 years old.
Oh, that's the estimated.
Yeah.
In 2042.
Yes.
Right.
Not today.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a community college educational cost about that in
Yes.
year two. The way that's
Brush
gone up.
truck 11 is really just an F-250. It's gonna cost
Yeah.
$400,000 for an F-250 in
Yeah, yeah.
2046.
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
Yeah. It might.
It might, yeah.
It might.
You
Yeah.
could- It's,
Who knows? Yeah.
And when you were here last time, you said it's about a 2-year lead time for ordering the replacement for engine 8.
I think it's 2.5 to 3 right now.
Even
So,
worse. Okay.
yeah,
So that's going to be ordered fairly soon if that's the case.
Yeah.
But the good news was we don't have to pay for it. The price is locked in, but we don't have to pay for it until it
That's
arrives.
if we- that's
right.
if
When
we
you order
pull
it, the price
we
gets
pull the
locked
tr-
in
when we
then,
pull the trigger
and
on
then
it.
you,
Yep. Okay.
so,
Okay.
we are working on that now. So as soon as we have something ready, I'll let Sarah know and then you can decide how you want to proceed with it.
I wonder if just getting it all built, getting all the
Specs.
features, the specs, everything the way it would be ordered,
Mhm.
and getting a price on that, and just I mean, bringing it to town meeting and just explaining what it is that we're doing. You know, that we're ordering the thing with the with the expectation that we're gonna start paying on it in 2 years, just
Yeah.
say, right, in case it comes early or whatever.
Mhm.
I think that's what Casey was
Yeah.
saying, that you're working
Yeah.
up specs for it
Right.
now and everything.
But I think that
Yeah.
would be something that,
Yeah.
I don't know how that works in town meetings, it wouldn't be part of necessarily the annual budget. We're not, but to enter into the agreement to buy it, we would need the town's approval.
That would be if we're bonding, we would have to have a separate warrant to bond. So that's a discussion we'd need to have because we may not necessarily need to bond. Where we will have after allocating the 75,000, if that's what you all decide is the right number for this year, we'll have a balance of 125,000 to be able to put towards it. That's just at the end of FY 24.
Yeah.
And then we have to have the conversation about undesignated fund
But-
balance, so.
Right.
But if we're gonna sign the paper saying we're gonna buy it, we want the town to be in support of us. We want the town to say, yeah, you can buy it.
Yeah,
So that when we pay for it, we're not like, the town would say no, and be like, well, we
Right.
already have it. It says Newcastle. on it."
Yeah, right.
yeah, that's a legal question too,
So-
Joel, I'd have to check on. I
Yeah.
don't think that's a requirement in our purchasing and bid ordinance.
But anyway, it's
But I'll
something.
check with.
We just gotta figure out
Something
how
to
to
think
do it.
about for.
Yep.
For taking care of that, because again, it's a different time, so rather than. And then it's probably easier for the town to swallow, because you don't have to pay anything for it, 2 years, it's free for 2 years.
Yeah, right. Even though you don't have it yet.
And you're
so
gonna save
Yeah.
16%.
That's the key right there. Yeah.
But I would say
That's the
that
whole
if we're,
motive.
if we're looking at getting approval to purchase it, where even if we at the town meeting said we're going to be purchasing it with your okay, it's gonna take 2 years to get here, but we're purchasing it. So we don't
Right.
have to then get approval when in 2 years or 3 years when the time comes for it to be delivered. I mean, I think we want approval now.
Right,
To
that's
purchase it.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
if we're gonna sign on it, it's
Yep.
not like. Yeah,
Yeah,
but-
that's where I guess I'm a little confused and I'm not sure because most towns, when you go to purchase it, are bonding. So in order to go to bond, you have to have the voters vote on it, where we're not doing that.
what
So
we'd
let
be-
me look.
We'd be
Let me
putting it
check.
in the budget though, so we'd be, regardless of when we took ownership of, it, we'd be putting it in the budget, and we wouldn't wanna have the discussion. After we ordered it and it arrived and we were paying for it, that people said, no, we don't want it.
No,
But
you
then
gotta,
we'd be
you
in
gotta
a
have a
pickle.
commitment.
We gotta,
Right.
Time you make the order.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
You
see
know,
what Peter says then.
so it'd be good to, I guess, just get those numbers back so that we
Yep.
have it for June, so that we can, if that's the course we end up going, we can
Mhm.
get it. Maybe get it approved, if that's the way we do it.
Yeah, we can definitely have it ready by then.
But if it makes sense, like I said, if it's gonna save us money, we might as well save money,
Mhm.
pull the trigger on it.
Well, it
It's
sounds
not
like,
gonna go down in price.
No.
Between that, I mean, we can guarantee that one, so.
Yep. Okay.
Anything made out of metal. Um, But yeah, Engine 8. Great.
and was there anything we talked about the SCBA stuff last time a little bit? There was a grant.
We did finish applying for a grant through FEMA for SCBA last week. Casey was a big help on that. And so we'll see where that lands. We won't find out, Casey, though, before town. meeting.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Right now they're roughly a year, maybe a little less from the time of application to the awards coming out. So they start usually in the fall, but they go for like 2 or 3 months. So, we might know by fall, but it definitely won't be before town meeting.
On the, that's.
Mhm.
Great.
We applied for the full amount.
Yeah. good.
Mhm.
So-
Might as well ask for the whole thing.
Right.
Okay.
Great. So
Thank
the
you.
next, just while we're on this, the next truck that needs to be replaced is not unit 12, is that what that one was?
Yep.
Okay.
We scratched that one.
That's done.
And no,
Fine.
there is another truck that I took off this list that was on it before, which is number 4, which is our rescue truck. So when we get engine 8, we're gonna combine 4 and 8. So We're gonna reduce one truck.
Okay.
You have 212s, that's 4 and 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Okay. Great. Time to sell units. If someone will want to turn it into a tiny house or something.
yeah, right, yeah.
You might actually get,
Yeah.
you might get what you paid for that one out of the,
Yeah.
out of the ambulance. You never know.
All right,
The thing's pretty cool.
you wanna buy it?
No.
Okay.
It's worth a try.
No.
Okay.
we got too many vehicles there. All right, anyone have any other questions for Casey?
Nope.
Have any other?
Nope,
News?
That's all I've got for now.
Okay,
I think that's enough.
great. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Casey.
Thanks, Casey.
All right. 8:34, so.
Can we just talk about the
Yeah.
the property
I'm
thing?
gonna get that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna.
No, I'm gonna go. You can't interrupt me. You make this drag out longer.
I'm already
So-
regretting it.
So I think what we should probably discuss now is some of these bigger pieces that we might want to fund out of some of the fund balance. Gordon, do you have an idea of something? you
Yeah,
wanna
so
talk about?
thanks. Thanks for setting the
Yeah.
stage.
Nice segue.
All right, so I mean, so we got some needs for more land as far as our town is concerned. As we know, our salt shed sand lot is on the edge of the Great Salt Bay. It's not a great place for it. We're also gonna have to do a replacement of the salt shed at some point. And it's question is, where do we put it? The other thing that's coming up some point in our future is, what do we do with the town office? We keep on putting money into it. It's not in a place where it really fits our goals of the comprehensive plan and downtown development. So is that where we want I'm just asking these questions. Is that where we want the town, office ultimately? And if we have to find a new place for that, where does that live? So we really only have this lot here, which is not very large, and between parking and the fire department's needs, I think is, you might say, maxed out. But
Certainly not a place to put a sand and salt shed.
certainly not that. So anyway, in that sort of vein, I'm saying that there's been some opportunities to look at buildings or lots that were for sale, and basically couldn't do anything about it. We're very limited with what we could sort of accomplish and those opportunities. It's like Casey's saying, a truck pops up on the website, they have a day or two to act on it, and they get a good deal, and they did get a good deal. And I think the town has to look at having some extra land where we have room to accomplish some of the things that we need to accomplish in the bigger picture. So that's the setup to say, I think we need a line item in reserves or some kind of, I don't know what to call it. whether it's
Land acquisition.
Building, so there's a building to it. It's not really just land, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of
Property.
property, right? So so that we can either purchase what is offered within within that reserve line, or at least make an earnest payment to get a purchase and sale agreement to go to the town, special town meeting, and see if the town wants to fund that. acquisition. So I think that's it. I think we have to I'm asking if we can discuss what's called, what is it, if it's a good idea, and what that figure should be in that reserve account.
Yeah, I think that there's a legal question that, I talked to Sarah a little bit about this, for one thing, you just have to look at a legal question to acquiring land, whether we can just do that, even if there's a reserve. account.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that I was thinking about with the money that we have, again, the undesignated fund balance, it isn't a free for all to just
Mm-mm.
spend it, try and, throw it at a budget to make it look lower than it is
No.
for a couple of years. I think it's money that the town has, again, we got here from being conservative and kind of doing our due diligence on revenues and cost sharing. That's how we got it. It wasn't from raising taxes. But we have this money and it would be a great use to designate some of that too, take it from undesignated to make it designated. And a portion of that, again, if we're talking about building a new town office or doing a substantial overhaul on our town office in the current location and the buildings there. We're looking at a couple of years out on any of those things. And so possibly even taking that money, some of that, if we put it in maybe two different lines for that, we had two different reserves, we had like a real, what do we call it, capital building? We had a capital building, no, if we had a capital building reserve or something like that. 4.25% for a 12-month CD, right? We could actually make something in the money that I don't think we're making 4.25%. I just pulled it up. I don't know.
I just invested some for my father-in-law at 12-month CD at 4.85%.
Yeah, so 4.85. So I mean, but
You can do
you're
that.
getting 5%, almost 5% now
Yeah.
on your money, and I don't, we're getting that savings. So.
Quite
Or a checking account.
Put me on the spot. I
Yeah.
can pull up our.
No,
but-
no.
No,
No,
that's-
you can
I'm just-
confidently say we are not getting that.
5% on
No.
our thing. So it's just as we go through our reserves, I think it's important to our undesignated fund balance and designating it. Doesn't mean we have to spend it necessarily. Just means we have to designate it and designate these things. And again, get the approval of the town to do it. We can't move money around without the town's
Yep.
approval. But I think doing something like that, where it's a zero risk thing, it just ties up the money that we know we're not gonna, as we look at these things, the money we know we're not gonna use right away. It wouldn't be bad to tie up some of that stuff. And the same thing with, I don't know, these fire, some of the fire truck reserve. I mean, if there's any way that we can, we capitalized on cheap money when we could, and we borrowed as much as we didn't borrow as much as we could. We borrowed when rates were low, and that we have money, so.
Mhm.
Yep.
The money that we're saving, we can capitalize on that, and that's a larger discussion, not to get into that
Yep.
one tonight. don't
Yep.
worry.
Okay.
But it's something to think about with our reserves, I guess, if
Yep.
we look at it.
Yeah.
That some of these things, if they are longer reaching, getting 5% return on
Yep.
that money would be great.
Yep.
I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, the money's still in the same place. It's not in all these different
Right.
accounts. It's just a line item. So yeah, wherever that money's living under somebody's control, we want to get the max
Yeah.
return on, it, that's for sure.
But I think your point about land or building acquisition would be something that we should look into and designate something for.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard from Seth, the need for salt shed, sandlot replacement and upgrades there. And the question is, just like the town office, feels painful to think that we're gonna invest all that money in a place that's really not ideal for that use.
Was kind of maxed out. what we could do
And you
there.
can max
And
that
it's
way.
and it's a valuable piece of real estate for potential development as well. So, but that's a larger, again, that's something I think a committee would need to come up with the scope and plan and present it to the town and get the town buy-in on any of those things. But the reality is that just to do the need and repairs to that facility over there, we're still looking at, you know, easily 300 plus $1,000, and it's just to maintain like that. It's been neglected over the years. So
That old Taniscott engine building is,
we could put, you know,
it needs a lot of help.
we could put $500,000 in a line for that, and we wouldn't have to worry about it being spent one way or the other in that whole thing. And again, like I said, if we know we're gonna spend it, we know it's gonna be a thing. Why not try and figure out a way to make a little bit on it while it sits and we figure it out? But
So are we saying we want to create one called for property acquisition, or is it like acquisition slash
Yes.
renovations? Is it-
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think my thought is that it's specific to existing functions of the town. So we're not saying
yeah,
like, oh, let's create a park over here. because
No.
We have this money for.
right.
Not saying us, but somebody down line of our seat says, oh, there's money in there. Again, back to the idea of intent, recorded intent, but I think the idea is, you know, these two things I think are important. We need to keep in mind how we're gonna act in the future.
So,
And they'd be a separate warrant article because the way we'd be raising the funds to go into those reserves would not be raised through the regular
Right.
budget. It would-
Correct.
it would
Mhm.
s-
Right.
Mhm.
Transfer.
So.
I think I would suggest too, if we were looking at acquiring land or buildings or whatever for sand salt,
Mhm.
it's our sand salt lot and our
Town
um,
office.
town office.
Two separate
for
ones.
land or building. I mean, I think I would have that as one thing, and then if we're looking at if there was a building that we bought that came up really cheap or something that came up really cheap, we'd be putting a substantial amount of money into the renovation work and updating it and turning it into the place that we would want, or we're building new somewhere. So that, I think that would be a separate line, and that would be just something that, again, we're designating that money, we're putting it aside, potentially having it accrue some more interest to, help grow that fund.
But you're saying it could be two different line items, but it could also be one purchase. Right? It could be a lot of land that would accommodate a sand and salt shed as well as a town office,
That,
So,
possibly,
who
possibly,
Who
That-
knows?
depending on where it is and
That'd be great.
Yeah.
But
and how
yeah.
big it was and
have to
everything.
Look at the land that's available.
So if we had it in two separate line items, we could still, that would still work out. We could combine.
Oh, you mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
either.
I think
don't know.
again, we have to look into the
Logistics.
logistics of
Okay.
how that would even work.
Okay.
I don't know that we can just sign a purchase and sale agreement and then,
Right. No, no,
you
no.
know,
Yeah,
I
I'm
get
not
that.
saying I've got this
Yeah.
figured out legally. I'm just saying conceptually, there's gotta be a way, mechanism to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So we're not in a pinch.
I mean, there are, when I was moving a bunch of stuff and going through all the papers that were down in the basement that's where everything got thrown over the years. I came across, I don't know, a dozen different designs for this lot here,
Oh, yeah.
which half of them combined a town office and fire station on this lot. I mean, it's already been kind of figured that logistically it could theoretically
Yeah.
work. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be worth investigating.
Yeah, I mean, that's another discussion too. I
But
think.
that would be something, again, the committee would have to kind of look at. and
Exactly.
run
That's
the logistics.
downriver. I mean,
That's it. So I'm just saying that if, if there is town-owned land that can serve a purpose, great. And if there's not town-owned land, then,
Right.
then we figure that out. But I think that we know that we need to do something with our buildings.
Yeah.
Or, with town office building, we need
Yeah.
to do something with that.
Yeah.
And, so again, whether that's on a new piece of land or
Right.
existing piece of land, I just think that that's something that we're not gonna we know we're not gonna move on it next year, and we're probably not gonna be spending any money the following year, so we know we're like 2 years out.
Yeah.
Even if we were just. But, you know, if we were able to invest it in a 12-month CD or.
Yeah.
2-year CD or whatever, and actually get some return on it. On that money that's just sort of sitting idle, at least it would be doing something.
Mhm.
rather than-
So next steps then? I'm not
as
sure what
far
we're,
as-
we're trying to
The-
determine whether we're gonna set up a reserve account called something or other. Or do we need Sarah to look into it with legal? What's,
Yeah,
I think we would need, I mean. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we need to look into if the land acquisition idea is something that. That again, you know, Tori mentioned, we'd have to make sure that that was a feasible. Thing and how that would work.
Yeah, let me look into it with legal. Let me tentatively put down that you all want to leave on the roster to create a property acquisition and construction reserve. And fund that with undesignated fund balance transfers.
And I think, again,
And I'll just talk to Peter.
there
about the
could be some
logistics of that.
benefit in keeping those two separate.
I think,
One of those pieces of money we'd want to have like more liquid. So that we could use it, and the other one, we could potentially lock up. In an investment.
Like a property acquisition reserve and a
And a,
town construction
yeah,
reserve or like
yeah, future construction, capital construction,
capital.
something like that. Or, does that sound? Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
You have any reserves that you have ideas of? Possibly.
do you have any reservations about our reserves?
No, I mean, it's working on it as we go. I mean, it's gonna require a warrant item.
Yeah.
everything like that, so. If it's something that down the road we want to workshop and come up with a few ideas to move some of that money, then good, but it's kind of, I think it shouldn't be done hastily. It should just be done as a needed basis.
So we won't have the discussion tonight. I mean, we're running out of
Yeah.
time anyway.
I'm thinking if we just, we get legal's perspective on it and we can have conceptually the idea that there's gonna be one or two more lines in reserves when we get back to this. At the end of this, then we can, see it, Casey.
Okay.
Then we can, figure out what that number is, right? We'll talk about that.
Yeah, because we still need to talk about the undesignated fund balance
Right.
and what we want to do with that. So that's going to be a little bit longer conversation.
Yeah,
probably,
I
anyway.
think so.
And Sarah had some good ideas too about
Yeah.
what we should leave in the undesignated
Right.
fund balance, other than what we talked about. So we'll have to discuss that again later. So
That's good.
And then, I guess when we circle back through and we, you know, as the budget coalesces and we get more stuff together on it, we circle back, and we, you know, obviously the capital roads project is gonna go down. Moving forward.
Huh.
And then I guess with the building, with the municipal building reserve, if we wanted to,
I've got to excuse myself, but I'm feeling a little bit under the weather.
okay.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yep,
Okay.
sorry. Okay. Yeah.
you're excused.
So the, we could circle back maybe with, because if we're gonna do more, you know, some heating stuff, which is gonna better the town office, we get to get at least ballpark heating stuff in there for that, just so that we know, we just have an idea as to what those things are. We have the
Yeah.
work that we need to do with the fire station and
Mhm.
we sort of
Yeah.
flesh that
Prices
out.
on some of the other projects that might be going on
Yeah.
next
A
year.
lot of eggs to discuss.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I have reached out to the 4 solar companies you all asked me to. I'm still getting quotes back. They're analyzing our January usage and giving us quotes. So I have 1 quote. I'm in the process of 3 other companies.
Oh, you were
Great.
gonna say you were gonna crickets. That
No.
was what I was afraid.
No.
Good.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
They were all interested to talk about it.
Yep, interested to give us a quote and we'll go from there. They know we have a we're not like a private company or a homeowner. We have a little bit more of a rigmarole to go through. So they're helping us get those rough estimates together and I'll bring those to you and we'll go from there.
And they,
Excellent.
they would probably have some better presentations on the easier money to get to, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So they- Yeah, they know all that stuff.
They had several companies had a few options. I said, show me what you suggest, where you suggest it. I'll bring it to the board and you all can
Yeah.
have that, give me all the information you've got.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been good. Yeah, no action on that, but it was kind of a fun discussion.
So for now, we'll obviously be waiting on the roads capital reserves line. That's gonna shake out here. But are you all okay with the other lines in the regular reserves budget being transferred over to the select board recommendations slots for now?
I think the only one, like I said, that I would want to maybe look at is the municipal building. Just if that
Okay.
needed to be higher or whatever. Because we, we've added quite a bit up there and talking about maybe another heat pump and.
I need some help making a comparable list to what the fire department has made at town office, because I think there's a lot
Yeah,
to discuss.
yeah. And it's, yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, if council's already sort of looking at some stuff, it might be good to get a quick list from him, just the stuff that he sees
Mhm.
right off the bat, but we could, I mean, I can go. I don't mind coming by sometime, we can just sort of walk around and I can give you my, I mean, there's a lot there. So it's like,
Right.
what do we,
What's priority?
Fuel tank,
some back history we'll go back down memory lane. I don't know, 4 years ago, we were planning on painting the town office. With
Yeah.
all the siding and everything,
outside.
and yeah, and replacing the side, like, those stuff, so it's not great and just some stuff,
Okay.
and then we didn't do it. And then the question was, again, it falls down this, it goes down this rabbit hole. of, Yeah, is it worth investing? And we got some quotes and it was pretty expensive back then. Of course, cheaper than it is today. But then, there were questions of whether things need to be replaced or not, or. It's a tricky situation with town office.
Yeah.
And
And how much money do we
and the
want to put into it?
flat building. So it's, there's been no maintenance done other than, again, trim fell off on the back, so Kensel came and fixed it. Trim's falling off on the front, so Kensel's coming and replacing it.
Yeah.
And, that's how we've been operating on that kind of stuff. The roof is looking questionable. In a couple spots when I was looking at it.
Can we find a way to talk about this? I mean, because there's a lot of detail on that.
Yeah.
There is.
And I think honestly, it's probably a workshop or some way to talk about all those details. And
Yeah.
Sarah, what do you
Yeah.
need or who do you need to help you make the list?
Yeah. And what's the time frame for it?
Take all the help I can get. I don't know. I need help from lots of people, I think. And I have talked to Kensel. I will say I walked through the exterior with Kensel.
Yeah.
He said the fascia trim was really what stood out. We don't know what's under the siding until we put the siding on. Because-
Right.
But that's something we should talk about. The interior and the Tana Scott are two areas we might want to look at. The carpet that's in town office is pretty gross. I think it was cleaned for the first time in anyone's working memory last year. Not the most sanitary
where's the carpet?
thing. It's in the conference room in the back in my office. So just things like that, regular maintenance.
On memory. That's what you, that was select board meeting. There's a lot of.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it like, yeah. Whoa.
Okay, let's
No, no,
move on
no.
here.
And the Tana Scott building is really opening up a can of worms.
Yes,
if
it
we
is.
wanna talk about
It
the
is.
Tana Scott.
But also, Sarah, the fringe benefit reserve,
Yep.
I wouldn't, I just want to move the numbers until we understand what it is for and do we need to add to it?
I think
Is-
what Joel said makes sense. I think that's exactly right. That fund must have been established to fund payouts when people leave with earned paid leave.
Right.
I need to do the math. on
Right, but I mean, it says that
How
we're
much should be in there.
exactly because it says that there's zero in there. But if we've been putting money in it, there should be more than zero in it. So
I wonder
See
if
what's
that's
going
because
on.
there was a payout during that audit, but I don't know. I need to find
yeah,
out.
find out.
Yeah.
on it.
Could
Thank
have
you.
been- Could be, it could have, yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows how this works? So we'll
Okay.
just see, we'll just see.
Okay,
We don't want to unfund it. We want to make sure we've got enough in there.
but we just have to understand what it's
Yeah.
for and where the
Yeah,
money's
that's-
gone and
that's-
what's going on with it. So, okay.
All right,
You
Cool.
good?
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
good. Are you all good?
yeah, I'm great.
Great.
It's not what I've heard. You
Yeah,
just you look tired.
me?
Yeah.
Oh, feeling great. What are you
Okay.
talking about? What is it, 9 o'clock at night? All right, so moving on to item number 8, town manager report.
All right, been making the rounds, talking to you all. I've gotten some feedback. We don't like the department by department budget meetings, so I want to get direction from all of you. It sounds like popular opinion we seem to want to revert back to the way budget meetings were done, have try and cover as much ground as we can in 2 or 3 meetings, have a budget schedule, maybe 2 planned, 1 extra if needed. And we should be in a good place because we've already gone through 2 departments. I would probably recommend then that we move the next meetings to March to give
The
me time
budget
to
meetings.
prepare the other sections of the budget.
Yeah.
March.
Any, I'm not holding your feet to the fire on this at all, but just any clue as to when you might have the bottom line? The pieces you're waiting for still?
It would be March, yeah. you're right.
Okay.
The school-
I'm waiting on roads. I'm waiting on roads. I'm waiting on schools. We have a few chips that
What's the school?
Yeah,
schedule?
I do have adult ed from the schools. I need to touch base with the schools and see what their schedule is. They're usually one of our last.
Yeah, I
ones.
can't. That's the thing. And then, again, if they get backed up, it backs up.
All of
us.
us.
So
Even if we got the higher level, like at least projected, we could carry some of that stuff along. It's just nice sometimes to see the whole budget as to how each thing's affecting the bottom line. And then, of course, can go up or down depending on those other finals, but.
well, and it's always good practice too for us to figure out what do we need. And if the schools goes up and ours goes up, it's not great practice for the town to say, oh, we need to bring ours down because the schools went up, because then we're going to hit a point where we have missed out on funding things that are needed for years because we're always trying to chase that bottom line.
Yeah.
But I'll make sure I'll bring it to you as soon as we have it, but it shouldn't slow us down from going through the rest either way.
My experience is that we usually have 1 or 2 school board members come present or
Yeah.
talk to us about
Yeah.
what's going on. So you might want to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
It is, yeah.
Because then we actually know what's going on, make sure that.
So we'll plan on tentatively like the second meeting in March to resume budget meetings, and we'll have hopefully every, other than schools, I can't guarantee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Town building repairs, Meserve came and finished out their project, as you'll see in the warrant last week. So we do have the air filtration system installed in town office now. It's working great. Humidity's much better. It has a UV light sanitization system in there, so the air quality is substantially improved. That was the last of our ARPA expenditures, sans broadband. So we are hoping that the garage door for the sheepskit will be delivered and installed in February, but as with everything, the doors consistently been delayed. That expense will be charged to the town building maintenance reserves, approximately 10,000 roughly. Additionally, I did receive a quote to repair rotten fascia trim on the town office for $6,600 last week. If you're amenable with me moving forward with that, it's fascia trim behind the gutters on the front and the back.
And that comes out of the capital, the, what do we call it?
The
Or reserve.
building
Municipal Building
municipal
Reserve.
Building reserve, right?
He was talking about doing the back. Yes, he did some on the back a couple years ago.
By the back, I mean the side that has all of the exterior heat pump units on.
The pump,
On the Mill
going
Street.
down Pump Street.
Correct,
Oh,
right,
oh,
facing
on
Mill.
Pump
Mill-
Street.
Oh, like the gable end part? No.
The front as in the front entrance and then the back as in facing Mills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did do some in the back. He did some in the back a couple years ago,
Yes, yeah,
but he's got more to do back there?
yeah, I believe so.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, there was a rotten piece,
okay,
one that wasn't replaced last time, I guess.
okay.
So if you're all fine with me doing that,
Yeah.
looks like it's,
I don't think we have a
yeah,
choice.
I don't have much of a choice.
And
Um,
is that, we're gonna replace the gutter, just replace the whole thing or just reuse the one that's there? Just thinking of replacing.
I'll ask them about that if we can reuse it.
Or just, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if the fascia's rotten out, you might need to think.
Yeah.
Why did it rot out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It's
is
not-
the-
Yeah.
It's, yeah,
Question.
Yeah.
it's a,
Something caused it.
it goes and goes and goes. It's the drip edge from the roofing and the roofing is crushed.
Next on the list, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was an informational meeting held between Newcastle, Damascotta and Maine DOT, McCog, Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission. Just getting information about the state of Maine's Planning Partnership Initiative Program, which we had budgeted a little bit of money for planning for the intersection in Newcastle Square or other potential planning projects, but that's really the project that we've identified. We were asking if this would be a good fit for a build out and traffic planning estimate, and it does fall within that project scope. We did invite Damascotta to sit in as this hopeful potential construction would also impact their downtown community as well. And we were wondering if it would be advantageous to go in together financially. It was not advantageous to go in together. I ended up hearing from Maine DOT. We wouldn't qualify for more funding because we did a planning program together.
Okay.
What last year, I believe our valuation put us just barely into the bracket that it would have been a 60-40 match with Maine DOT. This year, our state valuation pushed us just above. We're at 358 million. So it would be a 50-50 match for this. If we were to obtain funding, it would be beneficial for us to consider because we'd be going through Maine DOT's process in order to get their attention, get on their list for construction. This is just planning, not construction. They do have construction grants and programs. Additionally, after you go through the planning process, and that's really where we're at right now, is that preliminary traffic planning work that we need to do. Do you all have questions on that before we move on?
I guess, is there a next step that's happening at this point or?
We don't have a budget at this point to, I don't think, move forward with the program. So that's something we may need to talk about. I think we budgeted 25,000 last year in the planning program. We can get up to 50% back of proposals up to 150,000. I don't know. We'd need to solicit quotes, see how much this would potentially cost with traffic engineers to do a build out estimate for this intersection. I suspect we don't have enough presently budgeted unless if we were to pull from another area. So I need your direction on what our next steps are, but I do think our next step is the planning partnership issue at this point.
Who would we be working with for the planning process on it, I guess, or would it be an engineer or?
It would be an engineer. Yep,
Okay.
it would be a traffic engineering company. We would have to go out to bid for it, follow Maine DOT's process. As far as administration of the grant goes, it would be myself, our planner. It's why I asked McCog and Lincoln County Regional Planning to come as well, because Lincoln County Regional Planning does have a main DOT contract. And McCog has experience with traffic planning and grant reporting for projects of this type. So as many hats as we can get at the table, I think the better suited will be.
So that's a part of the discussion, that budget line item, or do we want to have a separate discussion about this in general?
I think, my understanding is we need like we need an abstract or some kind of summary of what we're like, trying to do.
Yep.
Like what's on our,
At all.
like, kind of like,
what's
what's just a paragraph description of what we're trying to do here.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then, I think we need to go out, run that by MDOT and then, these parties here, but I think we need to use that to kind of create an RFP for engineering and see what comes back in that process. That sound right? to
Yep,
you? Yeah.
Yep. Come up with like a project, a written project proposal.
Yep.
Which we have in our heads, but we need to get in share.
On paper.
Because at some point we need to convey, or kind of summarize what we want to do in that RFP to get, the engineering, which is the fees that are going to be captured by the 50/50, deal with this MDOT. So once we know what that budget is, then we can say, yeah, this is what it costs to do all of this, the study and whatever it is. This is the money that we're gonna need.
Okay.
So,
Where we budgeted last year for this was through our regular roads maintenance budget, so that may be a conversation if this is something that is going to continue to come up, how we. Nomination papers are available Monday, March 6th. Filing deadline is Friday, April 14th, no later than noon. Open seats are 2 select board seats, Robson Tours, and 1 seat for a school board committee member. Posting roads, Joel already. Mentioned-
No,
No.
I don't want to steal your thunder. Go for it.
Road commissioners notified me he will be posting roads townwide tomorrow in advance of warmer weather. So don't hesitate to call town office if you have any questions.
I was just
He did
walking,
mine early, so that's all I can say. He did mine.
Yeah.
early. He just.
and I was walking in Nobleboro yesterday and they've got theirs posted already.
Yes,
too.
they do.
Yeah.
That was part of the driver.
Okay.
Yep, towns are posting roads.
Yeah.
All right.
It's great. All right, moving on to the town warrant for $130,864.48. Do I have a motion accept? Moved
Second,
by Karen, seconded by Tor. Any discussion?
Yes, and Sarah and I already started talking about it, but sorry, I've had everything else pulled up, but not that now. I know, we go back and forth. We finally got the bill from Nobleboro for our half of the Ice House Park porta potties from last summer. And like, where do we want to charge that to?
I tentatively proposed contingency where this isn't a regularly budgeted expense and we haven't had to do this in the past, but we may want to consider if this is going to become an annual expense, creating a regular budget line for it in the future, but let me know what you all think.
Porta potty.
Yeah, porta potty line.
Potty line,
Potty.
it was $500 and something. I'm just trying to find it. Yep.
482.50.
Yeah.
Technically, building maintenance is just a rented building that gets maintained. We're paying for the maintenance.
This is true.
I know.
This is true.
but
We'd put it towards Alewife Reserve, but thought that wasn't the best
That's not a
Yeah.
good idea.
place to charge it.
That's not a good idea.
So let's,
Yep.
what do you think about
something.
contingency then for now?
Yeah, I think that's fine
Yeah.
for
Okay.
now. Yeah,
And then the question is, do we want to create a line item for it in the future or just always put it to contingency? Because I can't see them not putting it back in there. It's extremely used in the
Uh-huh.
summer, so.
yeah.
We have a line item. We should call it facilities.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
truly is facilities, yeah,
Okay,
like park facilities or something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That was my only question on the one.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, this is 4 with 1 absent. And do I have a motion to go into executive session under 1 MRSA section 4056A personnel and D labor contracts?
Sure.
Moved by Karen, do I have a
Those-
seconded by Tor, all those in favor?
Yes.
All right. It's 4
Excellent.